Hey guys, this is Red and Blue, your channel on YouTube for all things PSG, and today there is no PSG because it's international break. The season just started, like already they're cutting us off, and I want PSG. I miss PSG. Like, don't give me national team games. I don't care. I just want PSG. Anyway, despite all of my opinions about this that you can hear, I thought today we'd do a quick preview of what's going to be happening in this international break, which one of our players are involved, who are they playing, what are they playing, does it matter, and you know, what can we hope for, and who's going to come back injured or who's going to come back limping and miss our next games. Hopefully none of them is the short answer to that. Anyway, let's just jump into it. I think I'll start with the French team. Obviously, we're a French team, so that's where we have most of our international players. We've got 5 players who are part of the French squad. Our new goalkeeper, Chevalier, Hernandez, Lucas, Dembélé is part of it, Barcola and Doué. Playing 2 games. It's the start of the World Cup qualifiers in Europe, so it's the first 2 games of the group stage. We're playing Ukraine on the 5th, so tomorrow night French time, in a game that's actually going to be played in Poland. I mean, for obvious reasons, we cannot play in Ukraine right now, so we're playing them in Poland. And then 5 days after that, on the 10th, we're playing Iceland, and we're playing it in the Parc des Princes because there's some sort of trouble finding a deal with the company that organizes game in the Stade de France. I think they're doing some renovation. No, I think it's just a business thing this time. And so we're playing in the Parc des Princes instead, which would be great, except for, we've seen in the last game in the Parc des Princes the state of the pitch. So kind of wish we'd stayed away from it now. In general, I quite like to see the French team in Parc des Princes. For the oldies among us, myself included, that will take us back to the days before 1998, where the Parc des Princes was typically where the French national team would play anyway. Long time ago. But yeah, so it is, and so that's where we're playing Iceland on the 10th. A couple of things to note on the French team. Chevalier is still the number 2 goalkeeper, so is that going to change? Maybe not this time. We're keeping an eye out for that in the future. Hernandez probably should be getting a little bit of game time, but not too much. The big question mark is actually around Dembélé right now. If you remember, he got substituted off of the game against Toulouse because he picked up a knock to the muscles in his legs. For some reason, and I'm honestly salty about it, the staff of the French national team decided to keep him as part of this squad instead of just sending him back to PSG so he can rest and take care of his injury. They're staying he's following treatment and training individually. But yeah, knowing Dembélé, knowing all of the histories that he's had in the past with injuries and so on, if I see him set foot on the pitch for the Ukraine game, but even spend any decent amount of playing time against Iceland, honestly, I'm going to be mad. And I really hope the staff of the French national team doesn't do anything stupid with him. He's a future Ballon d'Or winner. We've got big games coming up. He's had a very long season last season. Barely had any prep. It's not the time to do anything stupid with this player. So I really hope, that they're not going to give him back to us injured. Interestingly, though, he's not expected to play against Ukraine. He's not expected to be anywhere near the pitch. Knock on wood. And the one who could actually replace him is Doué, who would have a golden opportunity to establish himself a little bit further in the French national team. The whispers and the rumors that we're getting is that he's been highly performing in the trainings that they've had with the squad in the last couple of days. And so we're looking at him to be starting the game against Ukraine and hopefully turn in a performance to really solidify his place with the squad. And then Iceland, second game. we'll see what goes. It's not really the Iceland of a few years back who could do well in tournaments and so on. So it should be a relatively manageable game. So definitely easier than playing Ukraine in Poland. Which is actually a nice segue into Ukraine. That's the team of our new central defender, Zabarnyi, who is definitely expected to play both games. The first one against France in Poland, and then they're playing the second game on the 9th, so one day earlier than the French team, in Baku against Azerbaijan, so quite a bit of traveling for him. I'm hoping that, the pitch in Baku is decent, there's no injury drama, the traveling goes fine, and so on. And yeah, hopefully he can come back in one piece. He had the full summer prep though, so I'm less concerned about him. And obviously we also have Marquinhos in this space, so we'll see. But yeah, like I think it should be a good window for him. He's played a couple of times with PSG already, but he doesn't play every game. So I like the idea of him actually like playing the two games, getting some rhythm and some regular playing time. I think that can do him good. Next one, Portugal, I think is the second team with the most PSG players in it. We have Nuno Mendes, Vitinha, João Neves, and Gonçalo Ramos, all part of the Portuguese squad. They're also playing to their first two World Cup qualifiers. The first one in Armenia against Armenia on the 6th. And then they're playing Hungary in Budapest on the 9th. So a couple of games away from home. And I think, the question for the Portuguese national team is really going to be about fitness level. Player like Nuno Mendes, obviously, like he's had a history of getting injured with the national team. And at the same time, he is their starting left back by a mile. So like probably going to be playing both games. Hopefully they manage him right. Player like Vitinha, I'd love for him to be able to get a bit of rest, but also like, he's a regular starter for Portugal. João Neves, like question mark, they've been playing him as a right back. So are they going to keep doing that like a la Luis Enrique? Or is he going to be in midfield this time? We'll see. And Gonçalo Ramos, usually is a substitute for Cristiano Ronaldo as number 9. Is he going to go past the big man? I think not quite yet, but if he can get some minutes, that'd be good for him as well, because he hadn't played that much with France. Next one and last one in Europe is Georgia, national team of Kvaratskhelia. He's in the same group as Spain for the World Cup qualifier, so that's going to be a tough one. And they're playing two games. Actually, they're playing both of their games at home, which is great, but it's Georgia, so it's pretty far. It's in Tbilisi. They're playing Turkey on the 4th, so actually like later on today. And then they're playing Bulgaria on the 7th. So he's going to play two games, but at least they're going to be done relatively early. And so hopefully it should be back in Paris early to prepare for the next few games. His fitness hasn't been that great since the break. So I'm hoping that, he can sharpen a little bit, get some playing time, maybe not play the full two games. But obviously within the context of the Georgia national team, he's going to be a starter for sure. But I'm hoping they can substitute him around the 60th minutes in both games. If he plays 120, 130 minutes, I think that'd be pretty good for him. And honestly, I'd be pretty happy with that. Because, yeah, that was it for Europe. Moving on to South America. South America, we've got two players involved. First one is Marquinhos with Brazil. And let me say what a milestone, because Marquinhos is going to celebrate likely later on today his 100th cap with Brazil, which is amazing and really shows, what a player he is. We know he's a huge part of our history as PSG, but even for Brazil, getting to 100 cap is just massive achievement. So kudos to him. Well done, Marquinhos. Brazil is playing two games that don't really matter that much because Brazil already qualified for next World Cup. In South America, it's actually like already the last two games of the qualifying round for the World Cup. So Brazil is playing Chile in Brazil and then Bolivia in Bolivia. Both games don't really matter. Brazil is number 2, I think, in the qualifying round, but pretty far below Argentina. And at the same time, both Chile and Bolivia are pretty far down in the ranking. We'll see. I don't think there's easy games in South America, especially when you go play in a place like Bolivia, for example. But hopefully it should be manageable. Carlos Ancelotti has made the choice to call up a bunch of new or more unusual players, not called up Vinicius, not called up Rodrigo, not called up Neymar. So there's going to be a lot of testing going on, and hopefully it should give us a sense of how much depth Brazil has in their squad. But yeah, knowing that they're already qualified, I don't expect it to be very fascinating games. The other players that we have in South America is Pacho for Ecuador, and Ecuador is exactly in the same position as Brazil. I think they have the same amount of points actually at this point, which is really saying something about how strong Ecuador has been and how weak Brazil has been in the usual historic ranking between the two. Ecuador is playing Paraguay on the 4th, so today in Paraguay. And then they're playing Argentina on the 9th in Ecuador, though, at home. So a couple of interesting games. Paraguay not so much, but Argentina at home is always going to be a big one. It doesn't count for anything because, like I said, Ecuador already qualified, and so did Argentina. And I think Paraguay is pretty far down. So yeah, Pacho is a regular starter. I think the question mark for me is how quickly can he get on a plane after Argentina and come back to Paris and be sharp for the next few games. Okay, moving on to the third continent that we have, which is Africa and Morocco with Hakimi. So for them, they're also playing. They're also at the tail end of their World Cup qualifier, and Morocco is actually this close to qualifying for the World Cup. So I think any result in the next two games should see them qualify, and they're probably going to be the first team out of Africa to qualify. They're playing Niger on the 5th, tomorrow in Rabat in Morocco. And then they're going off to Zambia to play Zambia in Ndola on the 8th of September. And yeah, like I said, I mean, both teams are kind of middle of the pack to second, third of the pack when it comes to the group that Morocco is part of. Shouldn't be too hard of games to play. And like I said, Morocco just needs one result essentially to qualify, so it should be relatively easy. I'm hopeful that player like Hakimi, he can. Yeah, it's a bit of a mixed bag because his fitness hasn't been that great with PSG, but at the same time, I don't think he really I don't think he needs playing game to ramp up, but more not be pushed too far. So I'm hoping he plays, but not too much, and we end up somewhere in the middle of him playing. Maybe he plays one game, but not the other. There's going to be a lot of traveling involved as well, because going off to Zambia, it's not the easiest destination as well. So hopefully, fingers crossed, everything goes well. Hopefully, fingers crossed, Morocco doesn't push him too much physically, and they let him rest a little bit and not play him for both games. Okay, and then moving on, we've got two teams who are actually just playing friendly games. The first one is Russia with Safonov, who's obviously not able to participate in international competitions anymore because of the Ukraine war. So they're playing Jordan later on today in Moscow as a friendly game. And then they're playing Qatar in 3 days, in the 7th. Safonov is their goalkeeper for both of those games, and both of them are friendly. Not a big deal. I think it's a goalkeeper, so should be fine one way or the other. And the other one playing in friendly games, though, is South Korea of Kang-In Lee. And they're off for a bit of a US tour. They're playing the US in New York on the 6th, so in 2 days' time. And then going off to Nashville in Tennessee to play Mexico on the 9th. Which should be relatively interesting games. I think Kang-In Lee is a regular starter for the Korean team. He's not really a starter for PSG. I'd be pretty happy with him getting some decent game time for those two games, so he can wrap up his fitness level and readiness levels. It should be relatively interesting opponents as well. Obviously, both USA and Mexico are trying to ramp up ahead of the World Cup that they're hosting next year. So I guess both of them will be very interested in scoring a result against a team like South Korea. So it should be relatively competitive, and so interesting game for Kang-In Lee to be part of. And then, last but not least, the last one, the players that I mentioned yesterday and did a whole video on. So, like, go check it out if you haven't seen it yet. Link somewhere on top. Ibrahim Mbaye, our youngster or TT, is playing with the France U18 team who are featuring in a tournament in Limoges in central France. Called the Lafarge Future Football. It's not a big thing or anything, but like, yeah, they're going to be playing 3 games. They played Saudi Arabia yesterday, which they win 5-2. I couldn't figure out if like Mbaye played or not. I assume he spent. I saw pictures, so I'm pretty sure he was on the pitch. But I couldn't see a really like, you know, detailed look at the game. France won 5-2 against Saudi Arabia, but yeah, Mbaye didn't score. I think he did play a bit, but he didn't score for sure. And then next, they're going to be playing Portugal U18 on the 5th, so tomorrow French time, as I record this, and then Japan on the 7th. So pretty interesting one. Japan actually, like, they were playing Portugal yesterday as well, and they did beat, like, Japan actually beat Portugal. So it's, you know, the madness of youth tournaments and youth games. But it should be pretty interesting. It's interesting, like, up-and-coming talent. And for Mbaye, that's always a good opportunity to solidify his status as one of the most exciting players coming out of France in his age group. So yeah, one to watch. Anyway, that's kind of what we had. A lot of action going on this international break, a lot of games. I think there's going to be a couple of interesting pieces of football. I'm really hoping more than anything that like we don't get any injuries and that the players will continue to ramp up in terms of sharpness and physical readiness. So yeah, fingers crossed for this. Big kudos to Marquinhos for 100 caps with Brazil. Big kudos in advance for like hopefully qualifying to the World Cup for Morocco. And yeah, like, you know, big clash for Zabarnyi against France. Portugal will be interesting. There's gonna be action all over and plenty of things to watch for us PSG fan, which is great. I'll let you know after the games anyway, like the top results, if there's anything interesting happening anyway. In the meantime, please like this video. Please subscribe to the channel. Please hit the bell to get notified of future videos. And let me know in the comment which game of this international break are you most excited for? Which one are you absolutely going to watch? And don't forget, around the world with international teams, ici c'est Paris!